So we go to the ship, right?
Yeah, we could.
Man, we going to the ship.
We going to the ship. What? 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 We going to the ship.
Welcome back, Finer Things Club League owners. The semifinals matchups are now over, and we have an official championship week matchup, and I am here to talk about it and to break everything down from this week and what is left moving forward. But like always, before we do anything, let's dive into that rundown, shall we?
Do you have a rundown that I could take a look at just so I know what type of rundown you're looking for?
Just keep it simple.
Keeping it simple, that's what I'm doing. But I am working hard on this one, real hard.
You're working hard on this?
No, not too hard, not harder than I should.
Right. I mean, why work harder than you should?
No,
Let's start with our number 1 versus number 4 seed, Nate Hyde's Jans Cans taking on the number 4 team. They call me Toby, and what was in our squad pick as an 8.5 point spread in favor of Nate's Jans Cans, the leading point getter of all regular season, goes down to They Call Me Toby 143 to 121. JT gets performances from several of his guys, but most notably starting with Devontae Smith against the Dallas Cowboys. 8 catches, 113 yards, and 2 tutties for 31.3 points on the day. At quarterback, Jalen Hurts was down and out. In comes Jalen Hurts 2.0, the poor man's Jalen Hurts. Justin Fields only puts up 10.86 points, but does get him at least double digits. Joe Mixon, 17.8 points on the day. Doesn't do a ton on the ground, but goes for 7 catches and 43 yards in the air. Not to be outdone by Lenny Fournette. Fantasy playoffs Lenny, 20 carries, 72 yards, but 9 catches for 90 yards, one of them going for over 40 yards all on their own. His newly traded receiver from Kyler's Bums from Doc, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 14 points. And Brandon Ayuk pulling in a big catch for over 40 yards for 14 points. After that, it was actually a little bit tough sledding. David Montgomery, Mark Andrews, and Devontae Adams all under 10 points. But that is not to be outdone by Jans Cans, who had a few majorly disappointing performances, but not from his quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, who continuously this season proves to be an MVP candidate. 24.76 points on the day, looking great against the Seahawks. Austin Eckler, arguably the fantasy MVP this season, 23.9 points, 67 yards on the ground, and 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara, not controversial at all, but does put up 19 points on the day, 20 carries, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill, 4 catches, 103 yards, 15 points on the day. Dawson Knox salvages his day, going 3 catches, 38 yards, but one of them for a touchdown. And then Zeke Elliott, 16 carries, 55 yards, and does pick up that rushing touchdown for 13 points. Stephon Diggs, 4 points. Zay Jones, 2 points. DeAndre Hopkins, 10 targets, 1 catch for 4 yards. Thank you, Trace McSorley. He left Deontay Foreman 165 yards and a touchdown and 22.5 points on the bench, along with Evan Ingram adding 18 on his bench as well. It's not enough to get it done. JT advances to the championship round, 143 to Jans Cans 121, as he goes on to play for the 3rd place match. On to the 2 and 3 seeds. Somehow I manage taking on Frank's team, Uncle Creepy's, in a total and utter rout as Jordan somehow puts up 189.56 points and a max points for with over 206, beating Team Uncle Creepy's 189 to 113. Daniel Jones on the day, a solid performance, 334 in the air, a touchdown, also converts a 2-point conversion, does fumble and does throw a pick, but gets 20.76 points on the day. Derrick Henry has a monster day, 23 carries, 126 yards, and a tutty, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. Does fumble and lose a fumble as well, but picks up 19 points on the way. Saquon Barkley, the acquired receiver from now his opponent in the championship match, 27.3 points, 84 yards on the ground, a touchdown rushing, 8 catches, 49 yards in the air. DK Metcalf, 7 catches, 81 yards and 15 points. Chris Godwin adding 14 points. Mike Williams adds 11. TJ Hawkinson, the high scorer of the week, 35.9 points, 13 catches, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Oh my goodness. Josh Jacobs only 6 points, but James Conner continues to produce at a high level, 79 yards on the ground, a touchdown, 7 catches for 41 yards, and 25 points. Graham Gano, even his kicker. What do you know, Graham Gano, 14 points on the day as he routs Team Uncle Creepy's. Trevor Lawrence is his quarterback, 17 points on the day. Solid performance, nothing spectacular. Nick Chubb, 11 points, continues to not score touchdowns as he is capped in his fantasy productivity if he does not do so, as he only has 1 catch on the day, 11 points. Dalvin Cook adds 10. CeeDee Lamb goes absolutely off, 10 catches, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 34 points on the day. DJ Chark adding 15 points. Ramondre Stevenson, though, projected to score 15.63, only adds 1.3 points, fumbles the ball twice, loses one of them, only gets 30 yards on the ground and 2 catches for 3 yards in the air. It was tough sledding as Antonio Gibson, Ramondre Stevenson, Dallas Goedert, Adam Thielen, and his kicker Harrison Butker all score under 10. Jordan, somehow I managed, goes to his 2nd straight championship game as Team Uncle Creepy's plays Jans Cans in next week's 3rd place match. And that is your weekly rundown. Well, so now we have the 2 teams heading into the championship matchup of the 2022 Finer Things Club season. Jordan Smithline or Jonathan Turner, one of those 2 guys will have their names etched on the trophy and go down in the history books as the season of the 2022 Fantasy Football Finer Things Club League. And I cannot wait to see what ensues. We have one team who has repeated his run, and that's Jordan, who lost out by 3 points last year from a title, making it back-to-back years incredibly impressive and incredibly difficult to do, as he has gone on massive winning streaks this year. At 2 different points of the season, really impressive for Jordan. And then we also have Jonathan Turner. They call me Toby, who finished 2-13 last season, number 9 out of 10 teams last year. Got 2 first-round picks, has made a few really key moves and trades, drafted well, and has put himself now in a position to where not only can he win, but this thing is going to be, I think, rather close. If once we look at the projected scores on Sleeper, I don't expect this to be a runaway by any stretch of the imagination for either team. And we'll break down this matchup in just a little bit. But before we do that, we have ruined the program. Who is it, sir? Who ruined the program this week?
There's Paul Johnson right there. Ruined our program, and that's all right. He's still here.
Well, as we discussed in the group for our own little playoff FTC squad pick'ems ourselves, the Ruin the Program, as I stated before the matchups, it would go to the team. It would go to the player on a losing team who got the least amount of points compared to his projected sleeper amount. And it really was, as close as you could possibly get. And there were two candidates, one of them being Ramondre Stevenson from Team Uncle Creepy's, the other DeAndre Hopkins from Jan's Cans. Now, to be honest, as it's been stated already, should either of these guys put up their projected amounts, or even a little over the projected amounts, it would not have mattered. They both still would have lost. But technically speaking, Ramondre Stevenson ruined the program this week. Was projected 15.63 points, only finished with 1.3 points. He did gain 30 yards on the ground and did get 2 catches for 3 yards, but somehow lost a fumble and then fumbled twice, so that is enough for negative 4 points on the day. So he actually would have gotten 5.3, which still isn't good, but those fumbles really killed him. DeAndre Hopkins finished with 0.1 points more, but only had 1 catch for 4 yards at 10 targets. So, I think there was an argument made for DeAndre Hopkins to be the selection, but he was within 100th of a point more than Ramondre Stevenson. So Ramondre Stevenson, sir, you have ruined the program this week.
Wait, where are the warehouse guys? I didn't...
What are the odds that this is in any way real?
I'd say like 10,000 to 1.
Okay, I'd like $10 on those odds. If someone gives you 10,000 to 1 on anything, you take it. If John Mellencamp ever wins an Oscar, I am going to be a very rich dude.
And speaking of squads, this week we did something brand new in our league, and that was to pick the spread on the 2 fantasy matchups, and then pick the highest scoring player, pick the player that you thought would ruin the program, and then a tie break of which score would be like the highest score of the week. And we got some really interesting submissions. I'm going to go through some of them. So there were of the team. So there were 4 teams that picked the spreads right, and that was They Call Me Toby, who obviously covered. He was given 8.5 points. He won outright. So obviously he covered. And then Somehow I Managed was an 11.5 point favorite. Blew that right out of the water. So Lance Batiste, Kyler Parkinson, JT, They Call Me Toby, Jonathan Turner, and myself, all 4 picked the right spread. So that means we all picked They Call Me Toby and all picked Somehow I Manage. Jake Bishop picked They Call Me Toby to cover, but then also picked Frank, so he was 1-1. Jordan picked both losers, Jan's Cans and Uncle Creepy's to cover. Neither covered, but you could argue he couldn't care any less as he is now playing for a title, but just giving you the results. And so did Matt with Sean. So Uncle Creepy's, Jan's Cans were his picks. He also went 0-2 in the picks. Nate Hyde picked himself to cover. What is you doing, baby? And Somehow I Managed, so he went 1-1. And then, like I said, Kyler and Lance picked the right ones. Highest scoring starters, we almost got a different answer for every player. The only 2 players that were repeated were Saquon Barkley and Patrick Mahomes. Saquon was picked by Lance and JT. And then Patrick Mahomes was picked by Matt and Jake. And then the others were Kyler picked Amon-Ra St. Brown. Nate picked his own player, Austin Eckler. Jordan picked his own player, Derrick Henry. JT, like I said, picked Saquon, and then I picked Devontae Adams. Ruin the Program was also very unique. We had a lot of different submissions. I picked DeAndre Hopkins, definitely the closest of all the people, but he did not get it. Antonio Gibson was JT's choice. Jake picked Dawson Knox. Jordan picked CeeDee Lamb. Matt also picked Antonio Gibson. Nate picked Devontae Adams, Kyler picked Tyreek Hill, and Lance picked Alvin Kamara. Ultimately, it came down to a tiebreaker as 4 teams picked the spreads correctly, and the most accurate tiebreaker did go to Kyler Parkinson as he picked 178.3. He was the highest tiebreaker score as Jordan went well over that this week. So the tiebreaker decided this week. $20 has been sent to Kyler, as this week we will do a brand new one with just the championship matchup. So sure going to be close, I imagine, as there's only one spread to pick, and there will be probably a good amount of repeat choices for highest scorer and ruin the program. So tiebreaker will be very pivotal this week, as $20 more are up for grabs.
What you people don't know about business, I could fill a book with.
Then do it.
What?
Write a book.
The Fundamentals of Business by Michael Scott. Over 1 billion sold. More than the Bible. I'm not surprised. Chapter 1. The businessman. Daryl.
Hey.
I would like to give you the only copy of Somehow I Manage, unfinished. If there's anybody here who can finish it, it's you.
That's sweet, Mike. Let's see here. Here's a chapter called Gum, with one sentence. Everybody likes the guy who offers them a stick of gum.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. All the way up. I'm all the way up.
All the way up this week was an easy choice by a large margin, and his name is starting to dominate this recap. That is Jordan Smithline's Somehow I Manage, with a robust 189.56 score, surpassing by a large margin even the second place finisher, getting amazing performances from a few of his guys. Every single player except one guy scratching over double digits, and many of those in the 20s and 30s, as TJ Hawkinson is the highlight, scoring the most points of anyone in fantasy football in Week 16 with 35.9 points, easily his best game of the year. 109 yards, 13 catches, and 2 tutties. The only guy to not score over double digits is Josh Jacobs with 6 points. James Conner having a huge game, 25 points for James Conner, his best game of the year as well. So even his kicker, Graham Gano, with 14 points, hitting 3 field goals, one of them being over a 50-yarder. And can we talk about Daniel Jones? Can we show this guy some love for just a minute? In our league, he's the 10th ranked quarterback in fantasy football this year at QB1 at number 10. Only 2 games this year where he didn't score 10 points. The rest are teens and even in several 20s, as Daniel Jones leads Somehow I Manage this week, and it will be interesting to see who gets the nod at quarterback moving into the championship, as there are a couple of guys he could choose. But about this week, Godwin with 14, Metcalf with 15, Saquon at 27, Connor, like I said, at 25, and Derrick Henry with almost 20 points. So congrats to Somehow I Manage. Could have scored even more, as his max points for was 206. So big week for Jordan, and huge momentum going into the fantasy championship. On to the individual performers. Dak Prescott leading quarterbacks this week. Lance's Prince Family Paper with 29 points, followed by Jordan's Somehow I Manage, Jared Goff at 27.7, number 2 ranked quarterback, and number 3 is Nate Hyde's Jan's Cans, Patrick Mahomes at 24.8 points. On to running back, a bit of a shocker here. Cam Akers leading all running backs and almost leading all of fantasy this week with 34.7 points. That's Lance's Prince Family Papers running back, getting the job done. Number 2 is Jordan Somehow I Manage, Saquon Barkley, 27.3 points, followed by They Call Me Toby, JT's running back, Leonard Fournette at 26.2 points. On to wide receiver number 1, CeeDee Lamb, Team Uncle Creepy's wide receiver with 34. They call me Toby. JT's wide receiver, Devonta Smith at second at 31.3 points. And then my wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, at third at 31.3 points. On to tight end. No surprise, TJ Hawkinson, number one scoring tight end. Jordan's Somehow I Manage. Followed by Tyler Higbee, who is currently unowned by anyone, 30.4 points. Big week for Tyler Higbee. And number 3 is Kyler's Bums from the Dock, George Kittle at 30 points on the day. On to kicker. First, top scoring kicker of the week, Matt Gay of the LA Rams, 19 points, not owned by anybody. Number 2, Brett Maher, Jake's Big Boobs kicker, as he gets 18 this week. And number 3, tied for third place, are 2 guys, both unowned by anybody in our league. Mason Crosby of the Green Bay Packers, 15 points, and Ryan Suckup of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That concludes all the way up this week.
Comprehension skills, subpar.
Interviewing skills, subpar.
What are you writing? Can't even give Cornell your full attention.
On the contrary, I'm helping Cornell by evaluating their interviewers.
Nobody wants that to happen.
Well, when they get my evaluation, we'll see if they're interested.
Applicant is attempting to blackmail interviewer showing low moral character.
Interviewer is threatening applicant with an arbitrary review process.
Applicant is wasting everyone's time with stupid and inane accusations.
Interviewer has suspect motives.
Applicant has a head shaped like a trapezoid.
Interviewer has turned off applicant's interest in Cornell, and they are going to go to the vastly superior Dartmouth. Ever heard of it? I think I have everything
I have everything I need.
You will be hearing from the
And
Cornell
you will be hearing
application
from the
department.
Cornell
You will not be
application
pleased with
department.
the
And you
result.
will not be pleased with the
And
result.
Your
And
affiliation
your
with Cornell
affiliation with
will
Cornell
end
will
completely.
We are bringing back the interviews portion of the recap to go over the mandatory press conferences and interviews for the 2 owners. Think of it as Media Week as Jordan and JT prepare for the big dance. And so first we will hear from the owner of They Call Me Toby, JT.
Welcome back, everybody. I am bringing back this segment for our final in-season recap for our championship matchup, and I have none other than the owner of They Call Me Toby, Mr. Jonathan Turner. Welcome to the recap once again. JT, how are you doing this morning?
What's up, JB? I'm living the dream at this point.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about it. I suspect nothing against Mr. Nate Hyde, but I suspected that a lot of people were pulling for you, even though both of you guys finished last season kind of in the same boat. Your story has been fun to watch this year. You finished 2-13 in 2021 season, and now you sit here in the championship matchup. Can you share a little bit about how you feel moving just 1 year removed from last season, now playing for a title?
It's crazy. It really is crazy. To be perfectly honest, when I made that trade with Kyler, like, I thought that those pieces being added, as well as the draft picks that I had for this year's draft, would put me in a solid spot to kind of continue the rebuild. I had no idea Jalen Hurts would have the type of year he had. Like, I've believed in him for a long time, but obviously he was kind of the main reason. And then, a couple other trades that I made, although I'm a little nervous now about having to potentially deal with that Saquon Barkley trade now here in the championship game. So, yeah, I didn't expect to be where I am, but I did expect to be better, I guess, than 2-13, which is not all that difficult. So it's good.
Yeah, man. I mean, and to be fair, your 2-13 looked a lot different in terms of points scored than Nate's 2-13 last season. Y'all both did finish with 2 wins, but as I discussed in our postseason recap last year, you were extremely unlucky. Your schedule was very unfavorable to you. I think there was, if I recall correctly, and I'm pulling it up now. You actually had a scenario where if you had one of the other owners' schedule last year, you would have actually finished with a winning record. So you did have a solid team. Like, there was something building, but like you just said, and that's what I wanted to talk about next. After last season, you really kicked your team into the next gear. I mean, if we were handing out awards, and that's something that I plan on doing, I've got to believe you're going to receive GM of the Year. I mean, you drafted Chris Olave and Dameon Pierce. Now, Dameon Pierce, obviously, this back half has not worked out that much, but the future is bright there. And then, of course, you made those trades. If there was one thing that you did that you can look back to and say, I think this is what really put me on a different trajectory, what would that move, or what would those moves be?
I think the first thing is not overthinking sits and starts. For the last couple of years, especially in this league, because you want to win so bad, you want to compete, right, and be there week in and week out. I just was overthinking some of the weekly sits and starts, right, and trying to get into the matrix of fantasy football, and you're going to lose 9 times out of 10 doing that. So I just got a little bit more realistic with sits and starts, and the trades. Dynasty is about living in the current, but also planning for the future, right? There's a very fine line there, and I would, again, even if Saquon whoops me and that trade comes back to bite me here coming up this weekend, I would still make that trade, right? So it's the weekly sits and starts, and then you got to get lucky. You touched on it already, right? From looking at it last year, the ball's not going to bounce your way all the time. And it certainly has this year.
Yeah, that's such a huge component of fantasy football is the sits and starts. I won't get into my own personal feelings on that, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough. You can really get in your head. The whole paralysis by analysis is real. That Saquon Barkley trade, I'm looking at it right now. You traded Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, and Josh Palmer. Jordan traded Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, and Josh Palmer for Saquon and Cortland Sutton. And now you two face off in the championship matchup. It's like you can't script it better than this. You face the guy who you traded Saquon for, and now you are facing him with the pieces you've acquired in Mixon and Montgomery. What are your thoughts heading into this week? Let's talk about the upcoming week. You face off Jordan. You faced him one other time this season, and you caught his second best week of the season by like decimal points. It almost was his best week of the year when you faced him. So you lost that week. How do you feel going into this week? What are your thoughts heading into this matchup?
So where this week in week 16 I had the tough matchups, I seem to be a little bit better in week 17. Obviously, it doesn't look like Hurts will be back, but Fields has a pretty decent matchup. So I feel good. What I like the most, I guess, is all of the guys that I will be starting or appear to be starting. All are on teams that have something to play for. That's the biggest concern, right, this time of year, is that if you get a couple guys that are on teams that lock it down, and then maybe they play a half or maybe not the first series. So I look to be pretty good that way. And I don't know. I think Sleeper's been pretty accurate with these red, green, and orange, notifications as far as who the matchups are or how good the matchups are or how bad. And this week 16 was way worse for some of my players than week 17 appears to be. But like we all know, man, you just gotta get lucky, right? You gotta be able to find the way. So I'm excited. I think I have a shot. I thought I had a true shot against Nate, but I knew I needed to have some things go my way. I think I was looking at it. I think so. I don't have it pulled up here, but the between, who was it? Hold on real quick. Sorry. So between Diggs, Zay Jones, and Hopkins, like those three guys don't score 10 points between them. Like that's just it's got to go that way, you know. I mean, you got to get some of that to be able to come out ahead. So
yeah,
just got to hope the same kind of thing goes on this week.
Yeah, fantasy football is a cruel hobby sometimes. You know, sometimes it's just, like you said, it just goes that way. I'm looking at your team. You know, I think about 80% of your lineup seems to be locked. If I'm looking at it from your eyes, there's probably a couple of coin tosses. I think the biggest question I have two questions for you. The first one is this: you kind of got forced to play Justin Fields, right? Because Jalen Hurts was out. This week, Jalen Hurts said that if they lost against the Cowboys, he would be coming back. Let's say that's true. I don't think he gets to make that call truthfully, but let's just say that's true. He faces New Orleans defense. Justin Fields, on the other hand, faces Detroit, who gave up about 1 million yards against the crappy Panthers this past week. If both guys are healthy or both guys active and playing, are you leaning towards one or the other playing this week in your quarterback spot?
So great question. Tough call, right? I think personally, so Hurts, like the reason why Hurts is so good for fantasy, runs and throws, right? Well, because of that, you kind of wonder if he's hurt. Like what I would hate to do is start Hurts and he plays 2 series, gets hit on that shoulder, and boom, he's gone, right? The last time Justin Fields played Detroit, scored 42 points. So to your point about Detroit giving up 1 million yards rushing, I think I would lean towards Fields. But you know, I can't give Jordan too much intel on that because he'll wind up going out and doing something. Exactly. But you bring up a good point. You know, that is a perfect example of having an opportunity to overthink the sits and starts. Fields would be where I'm leaning at this point, just to answer your question.
I love it. This is what it's all about, man. And then my last question is, who is the guy on your team that's like, hey, I need you to step up and be the X factor on my team this week? Is there a guy you're looking at, you're like, I need that week from you now? So
it's funny that you asked me that. Isn't it ironic with all that's gone on with this terrible Tampa team that starting the Sunday slate of games, actually it was starting the Sunday night game, right? Arizona and Tampa. I told a buddy of mine, I'm like, all I need Lenny to do is score me like 15 or 20. And then Lenny goes off, you know, and it just broke my way, right? I think I need Devontae to score me a little bit more than he did. You know, he's pretty much been the stalwart. I got a pretty solid core of receivers, and it's hard to watch Carr throw the ball to Devontae. So I would. It's time for the studs to come in. You know, Joe Mixon needs to have a good game. That should be a fantastic Monday Night Football game between the Bengals and the Bills. So I would say my studs. Plus, it would also be helpful if the guy that Jordan traded me actually performed, and he had a 50-point week, right? So he's definitely been a viable piece. But it would. I'm gonna go with my studs. I need Joe Mixon and Devontae to turn in some solid games for me.
Yeah, Devontae Adams to me is like the glaring. You know, last 3 weeks,
it's been 10, rough,
6,
man.
and 3. Yeah, and he
right.
has a fine matchup this week, so we'll see. JT, it's you against Somehow I Manage. They call me Toby versus Somehow I Manage. 2 really, really strong teams. Jordan is looking to right the ship as he played in the title game last year. Any predictions? Anything you'd like to say either to Jordan or the league, and give us your prediction?
Definitely no trash talk. I'm gonna kick the high road on that. I will say, pulling the curtain back just a little bit, I did predict Jordan to be the best team in the league in our preseason rankings. So it has come to fruition. And
I'm glad you said that. I was gonna save some of that, but that is true, everyone. I think you deserve credit for that. That is 100% true. So good call on that.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. It should be fun, and being able, like, the fact that, and for Nate, so it took me 3 times to beat Nate. The previous 2 times, like, it came down to Monday Night Football, and darn it if Austin Eckler didn't do it each time. So got lucky there. I just want, I guess, the only thing that I would have to say or to ask for as far as the matchup is concerned is let's not be in a point where somebody can take a kneel down. I don't want to be kneeled down on for the championship. So if it could last all the way through until the final game, that's all we can ask for, right? However it breaks out from there is however it breaks out. But yeah, just have it mean something all the way through, not be over Saturday or whenever half the darn games are over.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, look, thank you. I appreciate the time, Jonathan, and good luck this week. And we will be hearing from you regardless, I think, sooner rather than later. So have a great day, and best of luck to you.
Sounds good, JB. Happy New Year, everybody. Fun playing with y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy New Year to you as well. Take care.
All right, buddy. Bye.
And now the owner of Somehow I Manage, going for the ship again this year, Mr. Jordan Smithline, everyone.
Welcome back to the second of 2 interviews. This one by a man I've known for a very long time and happens to be the owner of the highest scoring team in Week 16 and a guy looking to win it all this year after coming so close last year. That is Jordan Smithline, owner of Somehow I Manage. How are you doing today, Jordan? How you feeling?
Doing great. Feeling good. Got the W over the weekend. Big deal. Just looking forward to the championship.
Yeah, so look, man, there's quite a bit to talk about, so we'll dive right into it. You beat Frank this week, which you picked yourself you picked Frank to cover the spread in our little squad pick. Was that more of a hedge? You kind of like not wanting to jinx yourself, or did you really feel like that matchup was a potential scare for you?
No, it was honestly, it was more of a hedge. I thought that I'd win by quite a bit, but just not as much as I did. I think I won by 70 points. So I thought it would be kind of around 25-point win, something like that. Kind of like I did the week prior, where just kind of lingered the whole time and then finally caught up to him and only won by about 3 points. I didn't think that was going to happen again. I thought that I was going to be able to kind of get what I was needing and win.
Yeah, man. I mean, you wiped the floor with Frank this week.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're at 189 on Week 16. You are 43 points ahead of the next team in terms of the side pot leftover. So before we talk about the championship, there's $140 up for grabs between the team that scores the most in Week 16 and 17. You're up 43 over Kyler, and 46 over JT. So you're I don't want to say a lock, because a meltdown could happen, or something like that. But you're almost a lock to win that. I mean, How does that feel to come away with now $100 minimum, for second place, and then $140 for the side? I mean, you could come away a massive winner this time next week.
Well, I'd like to say that I was already born a winner because I was born in the US of A, baby. But basically, it feels really good to get a lot of points in a playoff matchup. That's the most points I've scored all year. It's the most I've won by all year. So it's against a good team. We all like to knock Frank, but dude, I mean, he went 10-5 again this year. So I mean,
it's unreal, man.
Yeah, he's a playoff magnet. So I would say hats off to him. He obviously didn't have the greatest of weeks, but it's crazy to see how somebody like DJ Chark has just elevated his team. Ramondre Stevenson, there's a lot of these guys where at the start of the year, I think we all looked at his roster and were like, well, that's not going to be great. Out of nowhere, they've, Dallas Goedert, like I said, Stevenson, he's been the main back for New England. He was our RTP, I think, maybe, right? I think he was ruining the program.
Ramondre was, yeah.
Yeah, Ramondre. So, and then, he just kind of fell short. Thielen had a horrible week. Stuff like that happens. But yeah, no, like I said, a great season for him. Glad to beat him. Thought I would be playing Nate, if I'm being honest. I think that's what I picked. So
you did.
You did. Yeah, it's crazy to be playing JT again. Like I said, I said this before, but yeah, hats off to him too. I think that's a huge win. That in itself is pretty cool to make the championship from 2-13 last year. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, you had. Can we talk about your I won't reveal it all. You know, we'll have a postseason recap show, but because you're in the championship with JT, do you remember who you picked preseason for your rankings?
Yeah, I do. I don't remember where I had him though.
So your first 3 teams were all teams that did not make the playoffs.
Right. Yep.
You picked yourself 4th, and then you picked JT 6th. So it's real interesting. You had Frank at 8. So I think it's interesting to see, and we'll talk about the preseason rankings kind of when the dust settles. But I do find it interesting, you know, that the 2 teams. I don't think a whole lot of people believed in JT for sure. I think everyone thought you were a good team. You were pretty consistently high up there. But on that note, you played for a title last year, Jordan.
Yeah.
You were 3 points short. I don't think we've talked about it yet, and I plan on talking about it in the chat very soon. But that was an incredibly close championship matchup we had last year. You and Kyler, it came down to the wire. The only 3 points separated you. How are you approaching this week, and are you going to do anything differently than you did last year? Or is there anything that you can do different than last year?
Yeah, differently. Well, number one, MVS is not on my roster this year, so I can't make that same mistake like I did last year. He had Kyler had Devontae Adams, and I just kind of thought, you know, like it was a Sunday night game, and I just was like, man, you know what? I'm going to throw MVS out there because I guarantee you he'll get at least a little bit of points just so I can, you know, kind of almost hedging the game itself and the fantasy matchup. I could have gone with him, and I'm blanking on who I threw him in for, but either way, it would have been like, I think it was like Zay Jones or Marvin Jones or somebody like that, and I just ended up, it was, I switched him out for Rashad Bateman. Wow, okay. So yeah, I won't be making that mistake again. Yeah, exactly. So I think I would have won by probably 4 or 5 points had I not made that switch. So I really like to, I guess, poke fun at myself with that and say that I got tilted and just tried to make a move that was going to make a difference, and it ended up making a difference in the wrong direction. So I think I'm just going to kind of stay where I'm at. I like my team. I like my chances. I would really like it, I guess I'll go ahead and say this, if Derrick Henry didn't play on Thursday, it would kind of make my choice a little easier. Because if he played...
It's funny that you say that. You know, when I spoke to JT, you know, he was talking about one of his, and I'll ask you this question in a second, but one of his changes from last year towards his success was not overthinking his sit starts. You know, being less analytical and more kind of instinctual with it. And he talked about how, you know, some injuries are good, you know, in terms of making an easier choice. So it's funny that you bring that up as well in terms of Derrick Henry. You do have the depth, that is for sure, and that's why you're in this championship matchup, at least in my humble opinion. But in your opinion, Jordan, looking at your team and looking at your season at 11-4, is there anything that you can point to and say, hey, like this is why I was successful this year, or is there a particular player that you would say, hey, this player really transcended like my team, carried my team, or what are the biggest reasons why you're in this championship game?
Yeah, I would say just one of the biggest things was, and I don't know if this was brought up yet, but maybe I'll bring it up. JT and I actually had a trade right before the draft, so I traded for Saquon Barkley, and he got Joe Mixon and David Montgomery and a couple other guys too. So I think the trade, obviously, you know, me making trades, it's not like a couple people in our league where, you know, they make a trade and it looks obvious. And, it's more of a trade that's beneficial for both parties. And so that's what I'm all about. I've made plenty of trades that have been beneficial for both parties. In my opinion, the trade that I made on draft night with Matt, getting rid of Michael Pittman, that's tough. He's a really good player. I know he's had an off year this year, but I think he's somebody that's going to hang around for a while. He just looks like an NFL wide receiver. So if he can get a quarterback that's hanging around for more than just a season, I think that he takes off. And then obviously I took that and flipped that into Ken Walker, who's been huge for me this year. Treylon Burks was drafted there. I've traded him and another draft pick, Rashad White, for Chris Godwin, and got my Josh Jacobs back. So just making a lot of moves that have really paid off towards the end of the year. I mean, I'm on I think an 8-game winning streak right now. So definitely sticking with some of the guys and not trading somebody like Saquon for like 5 second-round picks and stuff like that I've been offered for him. It's been pretty good, I mean, hey, listen, 4 second-round picks and Duvernay, if you want that for Saquon Barkley, go for it, you know what I mean? Yeah, enough about that. I love poking fun at Jake. I know that he's I know 2 things about Jake. I know that he poops a lot and he's been around a lot of semen. So love the dude. Think he's been a great person to have in our fantasy league this year. Dead serious about that. And just it's been crazy. It's really weird that it's ending this week, so it's coming to a close. It's kind of a sad feeling, but it's also great to be in the championship and still have a game worth meeting. So it's awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're looking to right the ship. Before I get into that, that's towards the end of the interview. I mean, you talked about Derrick Henry. I talked about it with JT about his quarterback dilemma. I think you have a little more depth, if I'm honest, if I'm being candid, than JT. I think you have a couple more choices at your disposal, which could be a good or a bad thing, really. Right. I mentioned Daniel Jones in this recap as someone who's a bit of a surprise this year. Both him and Jared Goff both have good matchups into this week. You don't have to tell us what you're doing, but you got a couple of tough choices in your lineup. Looking at it right now, do you feel good about your lineup? Is there some toss-ups or some deeper dives that you're gonna have to do to make sure you got the optimal lineup this week?
I think I really think that tomorrow and Thursday I'll know a little bit more about what I'm going to be able to do, especially with Derrick Henry and his status. But also too, I think looking at JT's team, he got 143 points this week, only got 10 from Justin Fields, and also Jalen Hurts was out. So that could be an easy 10, 15-point swing. So I think that if his guys play exactly like they do, I think Fournette at 26 was a little bit over what he would normally do. But then Devontae Adams at 3 points. So he just had a lot of back and forth guys where one would be better than, this week and not as good next week. So I'm kind of thinking that the magic number is probably going to be like 150, 160, something like that to beat his team.
Very interesting. So as we head into this matchup, Jordan, what is your mentality? You were 3 points away from winning it all last year. How much pressure are you putting on yourself for winning this week? Because, is there any pressure that you might win second again and kind of almost start becoming the Buffalo Bills of the Fire Things Club thing?
Yeah, man, that is very rough to think about. If I haven't even thought about if I lost. I feel like I am the heavy favorite. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a pressure as far as, having my team not choke on me because I can't play the game. But at the same time, I think that I've got enough guys to beat him. It's just kind of hoping that it happens, I guess. I think I'm really in a good spot, so we'll see what happens. Best of luck to JT.
So what's your prediction, Jordan? What do you think what happens this week?
Well, I don't know what the spread is, but I'll go ahead and say that I think I win and cover whatever the spread is. So I'm really, I think I'm taking it this time. I went from missing the playoffs, having like the second pick in the draft or something like that my first year, and then making the playoffs my second, and then runner-up my third, and I think that 4 time's a charm. We're gonna bring it home. That trophy has got a spot right over here. right over here in
man.
this house.
Oh, man. Well, one thing is for certain, it is not staying at Kyler's place.
It's not staying in Georgia. That's what's really cool, too.
Well, JT moved to Georgia. So,
oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. So, but yes, it is finding a new home this week, and it could land in the hands of Mr. Jordan Smithline. Any last thoughts? Anything you'd want to say to either JT or the league before we head off and you prepare for championship week this week?
Yeah, I think my team has an average age of like 26.25. So I just want to say to the league and Jake, like, I'm here to stay. I'm a force to be reckoned with.
I like it.
I know that I'm carrying 3 quarterbacks right now, but you will never see that again. So, just going to throw that out there. I can't stand having 3 quarterbacks. That's the biggest thing.
Know,
I'm looking at my team right now. But yeah, you never know. And at the same time, we never know what the changes are. Really looking forward to, it's just keeps hitting me in the face the last week. So it sucks. But at the same time, off season will be fun. Hopefully I'm able to be more active in the off season. I know last year I just kind of turned it all off, and I don't think I woke it up until like April when we actually had the real draft. But yeah, looking to be more active. I will say that. I think we've got a really active league. That's super cool. Just hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. I'll enjoy watching the games with you guys this week, and then it'll be fun to see who makes the playoffs, and we can talk about all that stuff too. And I have something that I'll probably post in the group around the start of the playoff week. We're going to do a little bit of betting fun where I can actually post the polls. And, yeah. So looking forward to that. And then I know that I did want to point this out to you. I'll get with you on this too, but we'll have like a postseason thing with some awards and stuff getting out too. So
yeah, man. So yeah, we're gonna have a postseason award show this year, and hopefully it'll be something we do every year. But looking forward to that for sure, and that'll be with you, with Jordan. So looking forward to that. All right, man. Well, look, congratulations again. This could be the year. You've made plenty of great moves, like you mentioned earlier. You really leveled up your team, and your team was really good last year. So you deserve a ton of credit. I'm looking forward to this matchup. Best of luck to you, and I know we'll talk soon. Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, man. You guys have a good one.
And a couple of announcements heading into championship week. There's still money to be had, guys. Actually, quite a bit of money. So first place will receive $250. Second place will receive $100. And third will get their money back, as that was voted on before the season started, $50 to third place. So Nate and Frank will battle it out, actually for a bit more than money, as the third place winner between Nate and Frank will not only win $50, but will gain the higher draft spot in the draft order. It is more applicable for Frank, as he has his first round pick. And for Nate, whoever has his pick will get a better spot if he finishes third place. But there is a $50 grand prize for that team as well. However, the side pot leftovers could very well go to Jordan, as Jordan somehow might rack up a big day in dollars, as he is in the driver's seat, leading all teams by 43 points. For the side pot leftovers. 43.4 points over Kyler, another 46 over JT, and another 47 over Jake. So those are the people really in contention, but it's really Jordan in the driver's seat there, as that is $140 extra up for grabs. And then we have another $20 for this week's Finer Things Club playoff squad for just our league, as we will get a line you get to choose who covers the line between Jordan and JT. You'll get to choose who's the highest scoring team that week. You'll get to choose who ruined the program. And then you'll also give a tiebreaker, just like we did last week, and that's $20 up for grabs. Guys, this is our last week of fantasy football of the 2022 season. I am not going to lie to you. I'm very sad about it. I am stoked. I'm super happy with how this season has gone, even though my team got bounced from the playoffs. It's been a lot of fun, guys. There will be a postseason recap with all kinds of facts and fun figures and awards and things of that nature that I'll put out a couple weeks after our season ends, probably around the Super Bowl time. Something fun to do, but it's been a blast. Congratulations once again to JT and Jordan as they face off in this week's 2022 Fantasy Football Championship for the Finer Things Club. Best of luck to both of you. Have a great week, and we will talk soon.
What do you think having a 37-year-old?
We're on to Cincinnati. It's nothing about the past, nothing about the future. Right now we're preparing for Cincinnati.